us through the policy. Asante.
We are very quiet. Shangwe na vigelegele jameni. We are celebrating. Diaspora mpo. Diaspora mpo. Mnatuangusha bwana. Diaspora mpo. Your Excellency, the Prime Cabinet Secretary, Excellencies, the Diplomatic Corps, Principal Secretaries with us, the heads of mission, our Chief of Mission, IOM. Let us give her a round of applause. She has really been incredible, and I think it's going to be a great loss. We are really going to miss you because you've been so supportive in so many different ways. Dear diaspora who are here, who made your way here, our partners, we are so excited. I am happy to see so many people from the private sector, so many people from the development partners. I'm excited to see my senior Ambassador Lo, James Morel, friends from a long time ago who have assisted us in building this diaspora policy. We're excited to have you here, and we're excited to celebrate this moment with you. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues. Thank you for availing yourselves. I would wish to thank my Principal Secretary, Madam Roslyn Jogu. We definitely have the very best of the very best. Makofi tafadhali. Allow me to say we have received invaluable support from the Office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary, but our Principal Secretary has been very supportive. Even when things did not look like they were going to work, we were very excited because she said it's going to work. She's a woman of faith. And every time things were looking like, the lorry is about to turn over, she would just say it's going to work. And we're excited it has worked. We are happy. And this is, we were able to come up with a forward-looking document. It is a comprehensive review. It is not just for the now, but we are hopeful. We are going to use it in the near future. It is a document we will use in the next 5 to 10 years. And so because of this reason, there were many people who worked on this document. Allow me to ask them to stand. Our very good supporter, Mr. Mwaura, is not here, the head of planning, but I wish to acknowledge the invaluable support he gave. Colleagues who assisted, tafadhali msimame tu muonekane. Why are you afraid? Please stand up. You'll be clapped for. I don't know why people are fearing. Yes, here they are, and some are on this side. Thank you very much, colleagues, for having assisted us walk this journey. Mr. Maundu at the back there, thank you very much. Somebody may ask, so what is so different about this document from the previous documents? Our underpinning value is the welfare and rights of the diaspora. That is the very base of what it is that we are doing. Previously, we spoke about the diaspora, and we say we are harnessing the expertise of the diaspora. We are harnessing the remittances. We want to increase remittances. We were taking. But this is our time now to start giving. So our outlook is different. We are giving back to the diaspora. And we hope when they see we have given, remittances, let them increase. Because we are working hard at giving, We've already been told that the mobile consular services are fantastic. Yes, they are fantastic, but we have also noticed a very correlation between giving good service and the remittances going up. This has been a participatory process. It has not been a process where we have decided by ourselves. We had several meetings with the diaspora. The diaspora were able to tell us what they wanted, and we were able to fit what they wanted within a framework that will work with government. Sometimes the diaspora, there are some things they want which we really cannot give right then and there. It is a process, Senor. It is a process. You start one step at a time. So we have started with a few steps which we feel are honoring the diaspora, which we feel are answering the questions the diaspora have had, and which we feel are giving the diaspora the kind of services that they've been looking for. So we are very grateful. The first slide, I was saying all this to let the slides come. Unfortunately, I don't have a screen in front of me to know whether the slides have come, but let me just proceed on. We have, I think we are back a little bit, the 9-point mandate. For those of you who don't know what our 9-point mandate, part of it is here. We champion the protection and rights and promote the welfare and interests of our diaspora abroad. We promote continuous dialogue with Kenyans. We support Kenyans in the diaspora in harnessing more opportunities for employment and enterprise development. In liaison with other stakeholders, we promote the participation of Kenya's diaspora in democratic processes. And for that reason, our diaspora who spoke a bit earlier, Mr. Mukile, they have come to try and negotiate with the parliament to see how much of the democratic process they can have with our elections just 2 years coming. And our development partners, we shall be coming to you. You support us so that we go and register the diaspora. They must be registered. So we are going to come around and we want to work with you even as we register the diaspora. And then, of course, harness diaspora savings, facilitate foreign direct investments and technology transfer, develop incentive frameworks, for diaspora remittances. I think a lot has been said about diaspora remittances. Liaison with the Ministry of Labor in implementation of the labor migration policy as well as the global labor strategy. And in conjunction with the Ministry of Labor, secure the placement of Kenyans abroad and mainstream the Kenyan diaspora into the national development process. That is the slide I am on. Thank you very much. So as you can see, I said at the very base is the protection. The green is the protection. The house is the base. It covers all of the house. You can see the arrow goes on the outside. Second one is to engage the diaspora. This is part of the engagement, but we have done a lot of engagement already before this document is even ready. And then we empower the diaspora. If they want to invest, if they want to save, we're empowering them. If they want to remit money, we are looking at ways and means. We are negotiating to have the cost of remittances come down and prosper the diaspora. Last but not least, the diaspora, of course, we want them to prosper. Next slide, please. As part of our introduction, we still want to say that we have about 4 million diaspora who have historically moved into different parts of the world. They've been looking for training, education opportunities, job opportunities, political reasons. Initially, when we got our independence, for those of you who don't know, there was a critical mass of people who left post-independence because of political reasons. But the beauty is now they are still Kenyans again because we have dual citizenship. Diaspora, how do we define our diaspora? They are persons of Kenyan origin, foreign citizens of Kenyan origin and descent. They are non-resident Kenyans, Kenyans holding a Kenyan passport and or having dual citizenship and residing outside the country. There is a slide that might not be, I am not sure where we are with these slides because that is, next please. It is not very legible, but it is just what I have said. This is introducing the different reasons why the diaspora moved, for political reasons, environmental reasons. And lately we've been having a lot of conversations about the diaspora and climate change. We have social reasons. Maybe your father or your mother moved and you want to reunification reasons. Demographic reasons. We have a lot of young youth who are in one area, density, population, size and density, the structure, and sometimes diseases make people move away as well. And of course, the number one is economic reasons, employment, producer prices, consumer prices, that make us move as we move. There are some micro reasons why people move, such as sex, age, wealth, education, marital status, religion, ethnicity, language preferences. They make them have a decision to move and to be able to either stay. You know, these days we have two things. There's migration and there's mobility. Wale wako mobile, the mobile ones, they go for 3 years. Like our dear chief of mission, she has been here for 5 years, and now she's mobiling to Nigeria. So there are those ones who mobile, they go under labor mobility, they go for 3 years, they come back home. Some of them are very adventurous. They skip 3 years in different countries. They get tired, they want to come back and eat ugali, they come back and eat ugali. And I hope towards the end of the evening, you're going to stay and have ugali with us, especially the diaspora who have missed ugali. Next slide, please. What are the frameworks which underpinned our coming up with this policy document? We have the Global Compact on Migration. This is a UN document. The East African Community Vision 2050, which talks extensively about the diaspora. I will have you know that the State Department of Diaspora Affairs of Kenya is very excited to take a leading role in the development of the East African diaspora policy. Makofi tafadhali. We are also underpinned by the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, the Kenya Citizen Immigration Act of 2015, Public-Private Partnership Act of 2021, the Constitution of Kenya, national regulatory frameworks such as the Kenya Foreign Policy, Foreign Service Act, of course, United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. When we talk about the cost of remittances, that is SDG number 10. So we pull some of the items that are relevant to us. Of course, Kenya Vision 2030 and the African Agenda of 2063. What is the strategic positioning? How does Kenya see its diaspora? We recognize the diaspora as a critical constituency in achieving the country's social economic transformation. But they're the people we must protect. They must be protected and their welfare enhanced first and foremost. That's how we see them. We also see them as highly skilled labor force and people who can enable us to have some technology transfer, especially those who are going on labor mobility. They go there, maybe you're a nurse, you've never seen an ICU like the one you've seen, Uko Maiju, you come back and you give us ideas on how we can do our own ICU much better. We also have some diaspora. By the way, we are excited with our diaspora because we have an NCLEX center. Did you know we have an NCLEX center? If you're a nurse and you want to go abroad and you need to do the testing, now it is in Kenya. So Kenya is serving the East and Central African region through the NCLEX center. And that is one of the achievements that we are very proud of. So in case you have somebody who wants to go, please let them go to the NCLEX center and do the exam, then they'll be eligible. Economic transformation, we see them as part of our economic transformation of the country through remittances, and not just remittances. There are social endeavors that they undertake which enhance the economic transformation of our country. The diaspora policy therefore establishes a framework for safeguarding the interests of Kenyans abroad and ensuring the inclusion into the national building process. When we talk about the rationale, we've already alluded to a lot of that. The growth, there's been an increase, there's been changes in demographics, the migration vis-a-vis mobility, the diaspora forms an integral part of the Kenyan economy and social fabric. Government of Kenya needs to engage in a more structured and more productive manner. We want to believe that the policy outlines activities and areas where we are going to have a lot more structure than we have had before. So the policy will bridge the existing gap by providing the necessary framework to protect Kenyans who migrate abroad and entrench parameters for mainstreaming the Kenyan diaspora into the national development process. What is the composition? I think we've spoken a lot about this. We have professionals, labor migrants, students, retirees, family members, entrepreneurs, medical tourists. The new term is medical tourists. We are not just going for medical, but as we are going for the medical, we are also going to see the Taj Mahal if we're in India. So we are also medical tourists. Next slide, please. So what are some of the achievements that we have heard? So far, we have evacuated 5,235 Kenyans from 19 countries, being victims of human trafficking, distress, and situations of war, and the evacuation process is still ongoing. We have hosted more than 36 diaspora engagements for Kenyans abroad, where we have had His Excellency the PCS, we have had the President, we have had His Excellency the Deputy President, and our own PS, as well as having virtual sessions with the diaspora. Of course, it is not always possible to travel where the diaspora are, and we are very innovative. You've seen our PS is fairly young. She's very innovative. So we have embraced the virtual. You know, we are doing virtual. And we are able to reach many more people that way. We have signed a comprehensive labor migration and mobility agreement with Germany and an MOU with Austria to create international job opportunities for Kenyans. There are discussions with several other countries because we all have a brother or a sister who's a graduate who doesn't have a job. Senior. So we want to be able for them to also enjoy and for them to also participate in national building. Negotiations are ongoing with Qatar, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Canada, Ireland, and Oman. Under mobile consular services, we have served 14,744 and democratic processes. In 2017, we had 4 countries, 4,223 voters. 2022, we had 12 countries, 10,444 voters. We are hoping in the next elections we shall have a larger number. Onto the next slide, we have had reduced cases of Kenyans who are in distress. We have coordinated 9 diaspora-facing services to e-citizen. We hosted last year, hello, Makofi Tafadhali, we hosted the inaugural Jamhuri Diaspora Awards ceremony. This is a ceremony where we recognize and we see the diaspora and we applaud the diaspora and we fet them and we hold them in high esteem. You know, there are some diaspora who are celebrities in the countries where they are, yet we don't even know their names. So we want to know them. We want to uplift them. We want to be able to bring them to that pedestal where they're looked at in very high esteem. We've collaborated with the Central Bank of Kenya on the development and the launch of the DAO CSD. We have supported the increase of remittances. We have developed the Kenya Global Labor Market Strategy, which has led to the employment of over 240,000 Kenyans. Next, please. And at the still, we have sensitized Kenyans at the grassroots. I think I've alluded to that. We have developed a diaspora mental wellness action plan. So a lot of the diaspora, we have realized when it is winter is dark, there's no sunshine, winter is cold. And if you come from a place like Kisumu, where it is hot and the sun is there throughout, and then here you are 3 months, there is no sunshine. Did you know that sunshine is very important? So people get into some sort of a small depression, wanasikia wako low kidogo. So we have a mental wellness action plan where we are going to assist the diaspora be able to cope with the cultural differences, environmental differences that they face when they're out there. We've also conducted a baseline survey to assess the capacities of embassies and our high commissions abroad. What are the challenges we have faced as we have come up with this document? Of course, non-registration by Kenyans, they still are mistrusting us a little bit too, kidogo too, but we are beginning to chambua, we are beginning to warm up our relationship with the diaspora, and we want to believe that we are going to have a lot more diaspora come and participate in our exercises and the activities that we have. There's fragmented data on Kenyan diaspora. There's the issue of mutual recognition of certificates. Some of our diaspora have gone abroad for good jobs, but their certificates are not recognized. Some have gone to look for educational opportunities, and they have had challenges. There's been inadequate policy, legal, and institutional framework. We pride ourselves in being the newest baby on the block in terms of state departments. So there's been a bit of what are these ones doing? So we are settling now and we are getting our place within that space. And of course, there is increased, the more the number that go out, the more the challenges we have in terms of mental wellness, in terms of distress cases, in terms of homeless and jobless who need to be repatriated. What are the areas that the policy areas identified? The rights, wellness, and interest of the diaspora, that falls within my docket, international jobs placements under Ambassador Kabira, diaspora savings, investment, remittances, and technology transfer, Ambassador Kabira, partnerships and engagement with the diaspora, and myself. So just to go a little bit and say, what do we do in some of these under rights and welfare? We are in the process of establishing a comprehensive Kenya diaspora database. We have enhanced the provision of consular services to the Kenyan diaspora. Of course, we are promoting the transfer of diaspora knowledge, skills, innovation, and technology. We have enhanced participation of the Kenyan diaspora in democratic processes. We have developed the implementation and implemented the evacuation and repatriation guidelines, established a framework for pre-departure orientation and reintegration of the diaspora. So it is not just going. Even when you're coming back, and particularly when you've been in distress, for us, it's a big thing when you go abroad. So when you're coming back, you're under distress and you don't have anything, there's a slight stigma there. So to integrate you back into the society, such that you feel you're one of us, you're still Kenyan and you're still welcome, we have looked into all that. Mechanisms for addressing distress cases among the diaspora, I think I already spoke to that. The next slide, please. Diaspora savings, investments, remittances, and technology transfer. I think we've alluded to this. Hope to see it very soon coming to realization. Of course, having SACCOs such that they're able to invest through SACCOs, leverage the diaspora to promote Kenya as an investment destination. Under partnerships and engagement, we've held, I think I alluded to this, we are in the process of facilitating the establishment of a diaspora summit. All this is in the diaspora policy. The diaspora summit is a more organized way of the diaspora getting together and speaking to the government with one voice. It might not be exactly one voice, but at least we'll have a larger voice of the diaspora speaking to the government on the main issues that affect them. So we are looking at a more structured way of having this conversation with the diaspora. We have established a framework for partnership and engagement with the county governments, mechanism, of course, for awarding exemplary diaspora initiatives. I already alluded to that. Strengthening diaspora associations and decentralizing government services to the diaspora. I think I already spoke to that as well. Under partnerships, we appoint brand ambassadors, diaspora brand ambassadors. We are still looking at the framework under which we are going to look. I told you the document it's progressive, yeah? It is far looking. So there are things we are very ambitious, we have put in the document and we are going to do in the next 10 years or so. Of course, diaspora centers in the missions, a framework for engaging the diaspora in the philanthropic space and engaging with the professional bodies, as well as business member organizations and private recruitment agencies. International job placements, this is a big one. Because I think I've alluded to it as well. We recognize the challenge we have with the budging youth population who are skilled. Our mean age is 19 years, so that's very, very young. So we are looking at the global labor market strategy to see how best we can fit diaspora into different spaces and to facilitate development and signing of strategic agreements of labor mobility, facilitate skills development and recognition of prior learning, as well as establish and operationalize the diaspora placement agency. Policy implementation, how do we see us implementing? Through, of course, other MDAs, ministries, departments and agencies, through county governments, the parliament, diaspora associations, development partners, the private sector, of whom we are very excited to have today, civil society of organizations, we have some of them here, as well as any other stakeholder who will come abroad to work with us. Like Madame Dimanche said, this is not something that the government can do alone. We need all of you to work with us. Under monitoring and evaluation, this is the usual. We'll check whether the policy objectives are met, identify challenges in the implementation, design corrective actions, policy review as and when necessary. So we are not saying this policy is cast in stone for the next 10 years. No, if we find that our thought process in this particular year was not working, then we want to review it and review it expeditiously such that it serves the needs of the diaspora when and if it should be served. Asanteni sana, thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, my sister. I think she deserves another bigger. She's very enthusiastic, and Balozi Helen, she knows her stuff, don't you think? She really knows her stuff. Thank you very much, Balozi Helen. Now we've walked this journey together with the private sector. I want to invite a gentleman who has been a diasporian for many years, but now has come back home to grow business and to do many other things. So please, Bwana James Morel, if you could just come. And tuambie kwa ufupi.
Thank you, Ambassador Kabira, for the ambush. But yes, I am a returnee from Australia, and Cabinet Secretary PCS is an old friend of mine. I'm happy to reunite again here. Helen, thank you very much. I see a business community from Ohio. Just salute us here, Ohio. They're here, and I'm saying this because I met them when I did my last trip to the US. Ladies and gentlemen, I think a lot has been said, and Helen, well done, a great job. PS and PCS, great job. As an ex-diasporian, I can see a lot of what we used to clamor for is actually about to be achieved. But they say when the music changes, so must the dance. And so to those that much has been given, much shall be expected. To the diasporians, we've been given a lot. And I think it's up to us now to take advantage of this document, turn it around, make it alive. Kenya is where you make money. Here is where you create wealth. Out there you make money. Here you create wealth. And as a businessman, I know that from experience. I went out there, I did a lot of running around. Kabira was in the same station, Australia. Actually, I'll tell you a little story. When I was in Australia, we didn't have a commercial attaché. So nikajituma kazi. I was the de facto commercial attaché of Ambassador Leah Tum, and I used to do all the commercial work for the embassy pro bono. And so I am passionate about the work that we're doing. There's so many diasporians who are out here. And I'll tell you, whereas we may have so many problems out here in this country, therein also lies opportunities. And I want to urge the diasporians to look at this. When here there is a housing problem, you know you can get some money there, come and build houses here, we'll occupy them, and you make some money, isn't it? So I think let's not all be gloom and dark. Let's look at what is it that we can do as diasporians to serve motherland. This is our country. We don't have another country. We must all look at it and appreciate whatever we have. From the private sector, I see a great opportunity. And I have a great fortune to serve both as private sector and public sector. I'm the chair of the Micro and Small Enterprise Authority, which looks after the small businesses, and also serve as the chair of the Economic Diplomacy Committee of the Kenya Private Sector. In all this, we're looking after business community, bringing out networks. Like here tonight, there's good enough networks. And I urge all of us, before you leave this great meeting here, at least create 5 new contacts that you can call yourself a diasporian friend or diasporian networker, so that we are all together building one great insurmountable country, Kenya. Thank you very much, Ambassador. Thank you, PCS.
Thank you much, James. Always a pleasure to seek your counsel on matters of diaspora. I also want to recognize the presence of the Presidential Advisor on Climate Change, Honorable Ali Mohammed. Karibu sana. Thank you so much for honoring us. I also want to recognize the many private recruitment agencies who have come to join us here. You are all our partners, and we greatly appreciate you. It's now my single pleasure to introduce somebody I've always said is very passionate about matters diaspora, but also very compassionate about Kenyans in the diaspora. It's a pleasure to invite our peers, Roslyn Kadure Jogu, to make her remarks and invite the Princess.
Colleagues, excellencies, ambassadors, it's such a full room. It's very exciting to see everybody here. Let me start by saying, I'm going to say very few things. Sometimes when you prepare a meal, it is lovely to just serve the meal and have everybody else enjoy it and listen to other people talk about your cooking. That was a very, very Kenyan wife sort of comment that I made. But I want to recognize the presence of my dear brother, PS Joel Arumanyang. This is the PS for Public Works, and he's my colleague and friend. Thank you so much for coming to support us and to see what the diaspora is doing. But he will also tell you that our diaspora are a big stakeholder as far as the built environment is concerned, because one of the biggest diaspora investments is in real estate. Your Excellency, sir, it is in these kinds of events, it's very easy for people to praise you and for people to assume that you are really a heavy lifter. The work that we have done has been done by fantastic officers who have, as the kids say, understood the assignment, and they worked hard. Allow me to recognize our team at the State Department for Diaspora Affairs, who are a team I am singularly proud to lead, because they work hard and they have understood the assignment. And if you look around, they're probably the ones wearing Ankara, because it's just how we roll. I'm also told that's a very old way of saying things. So thank you so much. Well done, colleagues. Allow me to recognize in a really special way members of our diaspora. If you are home for a little bit and you're a member of the Kenyan diaspora, please stand. Please stand for us to recognize you. Let me be the first to say, Karibuni Nyumbani. It is fantastic to have you guys here and to see what you've done. It's expensive to come home, that you've taken time off from the things that you usually do. We recognize you, we appreciate you, we see you, and this policy and the work that we do here is for you. But I also want you to look around, diasporians, and see all of the people at home. I can see some of you are still seated, and I recognize diaspora faces who are seated. I can see you. I know you. Please, I know you. I want you to look around and see at home how many people care about your issues, are rooting for you, and are here to celebrate your policy, even if you are not going to be here. So you are not standing alone. You actually have people at home who love and care for you. Thank you. I want to say 3 things, and then I will leave my waziri to come and tell us exciting things about where we're going to go. This policy that Ambassador Helen Gishuhi has taken us through is a government statement of intention. We are saying this is who we think our diaspora are. These are the things we want to do for our diaspora. These are the things we want to do with our diaspora. And this is where we want them to take us. It is also a commitment on our part to say that for us to say we have a prosperous diaspora, we have an engaged diaspora for a prosperous nation, what do we as the government and the people of Kenya have to do for those of us who live and work and study abroad? You've probably seen this house, we call it the Diaspora House, in a lot of our things, because it really is the unifying framework for how we work. We truly do believe that it starts with protecting the welfare and rights of Kenyans. So we protect, we engage, we empower, we prosper, always in that order. So this policy unpacks how do we intend to do that? What are the ways in which we are going to protect Kenyans now and over the next 20, 30, 40 years? In what ways are we going to engage them? In what ways are we going to empower our Kenyans in the diaspora, and in what ways are we going to ensure they prosper? It talks about the challenges that we currently have, but also looks into where the opportunities are. We've noticed, and we have started to put together some interventions, Your Excellency, around the fact that Kenyans in the diaspora now are increasingly becoming and running for political office. And I don't just mean President Obama, I mean many, many others. And that is a new area of engagement for us. And what are we going to do then with these people as they go into these spaces? So the policy is our statement of intent. The policy is also the document that we say hold us accountable against. But in many ways, the policy is also the story that we tell ourselves of who we are. We are saying as a government and as a people, this is who we are because this is who our diaspora are. And this is how we are going to behave. This is how we are going to respond to. This is how we are going to deal with our people because this is who we are. When you read the document, you will find beyond the many consultative processes that Ambassador Helen spoke about, you will find, if you are the High Commissioner of Ghana to Kenya, you will find elements that you find familiar. If you are the Irish ambassador to Kenya, there are elements that you're going to find familiar. If you are, yes, and I know Stephen Jackson is going to particularly be excited about that, particularly because your Minister for Diaspora is currently in Kenya. Yes. What do I mean? If you are the High Commissioner of India to Kenya, you're going to find elements that you find familiar. Why? We are a learning department. We have looked around and said, there are others who might have gone before us that have done some things right. If you are, my dear friend, the ambassador from the Philippines, I know you are going to find certain elements that are familiar because we've learned from what others have gone ahead of us and done. But we also know that every country has its own diaspora story because every migration journey is completely different. So diasporians, we have put out our intention. We invite you to engage with this document again and again. We invite you to tell us where to go from here. I will tell you one of the places that we are going from here, apart from eating ugali, as Ambassador Helen said, one of the places that we are going from here is, now that we have a policy, is to move forward to a diaspora bill. Because this document sets up the framework for us now to create a law that puts together all the protections and administrative processes for our diaspora, including giving energy and impetus to what is it called? Electoral rights. I was going to say diplomatic engagements. No, electoral rights and the other rights, such including protection of rights of property of our diaspora and so on. Your Excellency, I want to stop there because I know you have exciting things to say to the people gathered here and to your diaspora. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to thank you once again for this. Allow me to thank you for showing up, for listening to our work, but also allow me to thank every single person who has worked so hard to get us to this point, including our various partners, such as my sister Demange, and particularly Ambassador Olo, who holds a very special place in my heart. Asanteni sana. Thank you very much. And now, I almost forgot my most important job. And now, if you'll kindly be upstanding as we invite my boss, Waziri Mkuu, the Prime Cabinet Secretary, to address us.
Thank you. Please be seated. Let me deal with some protocols. The chairperson of the Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations Committee, represented by the Honorable Kandie, the Honorable Joshua Kandie. He's a diasporan. I asked him why he didn't speak German. He chose to use it on another occasion. Madam Roslyn Jogu, Principal Secretary, State Department for Diaspora Affairs. Principal Secretary is present here, and senior government officials. Steve Jackson, Madam Sharon Demange, Your Excellencies, ambassadors, high commissioners, and members of the diplomatic corps present, private sector members, distinguished guests, and most of all, our diaspora. Hamjambo. Muko salama. Kabisa. Muko gangari. Now, the two ladies who have spoken here, actually there are three. Sharon spoke, Helen has spoken, and the PS has spoken. I don't have to read my speech. They've done an excellent job. They have actually brought out the very, very important issues around what we want to do in terms of the diaspora. So I will not take you down that road. So allow me just to make a few comments, and then we can move forward. First of all, let me thank Madam Roslyn, who has been very passionate in pushing the whole diaspora agenda. To be honest, even the ordinary Kenyan does not require to be told what diaspora means anymore. She has done a good job. And when we were launching our broader foreign policy, which is now a sessional paper, and the public participation process has also been launched by Parliament, we had said that one of the things we want to do is to make sure that Kenya's foreign and diaspora policy is not foreign to Kenyans. We want it to be owned by the people of Kenya. So I want to tell you that I'm a very proud cabinet secretary, that the whole element of demystifying issues around the diaspora have been done very well. Pongezi to you and your entire team. I also want to thank Parliament, and I'm doing so because we are going to need them, especially at the next phase. When it comes to legislation, it's absolutely essential that Parliament works with you. And when they're represented here and they listen to you and they become part of this process, they will definitely enrich the legislative framework that is so important to anchor what we have been talking about, what we intend to do, and how we intend to do it. So, Parliament, I thank you for supporting us, but I also say, please don't tire, because we need you for the next very critical steps. I want to thank the partners who have supported the diaspora team and the entire framework of the foreign affairs for working with us systematically, not just verbally, but some of you have supported us in some of the workshops and some of the research that has gone into producing the document that is in front of you. And I want to say asante sana for giving us that support. And definitely, this is a moving target. So we will need your support constantly as we go forward. To the diaspora, the truth is you cannot be ignored anymore. At all. In 2022, your remittances were about $4 billion US dollars. By the end of 2024, the remittances had hit 4.95 billion, basically 5 billion US dollars of remittances from the diaspora. You have surpassed our earnings from tea, from coffee, from tourism. There you are. I can give more and more. But what you're able to bring back to this country has definitely had a stabilizing effect. Kenya today is boasting of about 4.5 months cover of foreign reserves. That, I think, is close to about 10 billion US dollars in reserves. So your contribution is now very, very important in making sure that we have a stable financial system. And I can tell you, if you're an investor, that is one thing you look for. How stable is their financial system? So you as the diaspora are making a very, very significant contribution in stabilizing our economic situation. I want to flag one thing or two. One, the question that we need to ask ourselves is diplomacy a straight line anymore? I think in the last few months, we have now all learned that things can change so rapidly. You can get a tectonic shift in the whole environment within a very short time. Basically, an earthquake can hit. And it can alter a lot of things. We are now seeing that this kind of shift within the geopolitical arena has caused a lot of disruption. We are going to all governments, both developed and middle income and developing governments, all have to look at their whole issues afresh. The health sector in Kenya and globally, especially for the global south, has just received a major shock. A serious one. We have our brothers and sisters in Kenya, for instance, who require ARV, medicine, and so forth. The government of Kenya would support to the tune of 60%, and we are relying on our partners to the tune of 40%. That's the Kenyan ratio, roughly. give or take a few percentage points. In some of the other countries, there's literally no local contribution. They're totally dependent on the international support. Now, we have reached a situation, what do we do? Do we let our citizens in all these countries perish because there has been an earthquake in the overall scenario? Or do we wake up to some realities and start re-engineering ourselves? Obviously, we will have to, because we have to save lives. Our constitution demands that every Kenyan must be entitled to health care, hence the word universal health care as we are pushing it. So some shocks are coming in. And it's within this framework that we shall need the innovation, the prowess of the diaspora to also help us deal with this challenge now that it's beginning to hit directly and hitting very hard. Within the Kenyan context, I can only say that we now must graduate from complaining about the universal health care to actually now saying, let us identify the specifics that ought to be corrected so that this universal health care can work. This should now be the debate. Because we have all seen it, that it is no longer, nobody is going to underwrite the health care of the people of Kenya. It has to be underwritten by Kenyans themselves. These are the harsh realities. And in so many other sectors, because as I said, the earthquake has taken place. You can decide where the epicenter is, it's up to you. But the vibrations, the tremors are beginning to be felt far and wide. And they're going to be felt up to the smallest earning citizen in all our countries. So, what do we do? How does the diaspora work with us? How do we work with the diaspora so that we can fill in some of these challenges? The other thing is, as we go forward, we may start having to focus. Are we sure that the remittances will always be on an upward trajectory? That's another question that we must answer. Collectively, are we sure that we shall see the growth that I've talked about from 4 billion to 5 billion? Are we sure it will continue that way? Or are we also now in a situation where we must now open our eyes to the fact that this very earthquake that I'm talking about could also affect the ability of our diaspora to be as supportive as they would want to be? Sometimes they want to, but maybe circumstances are going to have an impact, and that could call for policy shifts. Maybe the current generation of the diaspora still has strong linkage with their respective countries. What happens 5 generations from now? Will there be similar attachment? In this changing global world, with the diaspora with their base? Or are we also going to see some adjustments? These are critical questions that I wanted to put before you because you are men and women of intellect, that as we go forward, let us think broadly about some of these issues so that we can make Kenya a better place, but we can also provide opportunities for everybody, whether investment and others. And indeed, the ladies did talk about the bond that I referred to. We are talking both with the Treasury and other players so that we can get to the stage where we can also harness the resources of our diaspora more meaningfully, more positively. And I gave the example that if, for instance, we wanted to have some very critical infrastructure, I gave the example some time back of the Jomo Kenyatta Airport as an example. If we package it well, and we have a prospectus that makes a lot of sense, I can tell you the diaspora can fund and finance a new airport. If we want to continue being the key artery into the corridor, that is the 300 million people plus population of the East African community, we can work out and the diaspora can do a proper dual carriageway, some sections tolled so that there's a return, and we can have a dual carriageway all the way to the Uganda border in Malaba and be able to open up the economies of that region and give more impetus to our growth. So there's a lot of potential. And that is why I told Rosalind that even if I've come from my safari, I think I will still come so that we can have this conversation. Because we have been having a lot of conversations in our society that seem to take away the fundamental issues that we need to talk to, and we sometimes get immersed in trivialities. So today, let this be a moment when we can look at very solid issues and reflect on them and see what we can do together, working with the diaspora. I would like you to have well-organized special purpose vehicles set up by the diaspora. Well-organized special purpose vehicles. If we are talking of PPPs, public-private partnerships, it would be so good if within the diaspora framework, there are special purpose vehicles that can have a significant impact and partnership in some of these programs, so that our effort is not just scattered in little drops, but we can have our effort collated and put in very, very significant blocks that can alter the policy levels and the thinking that we have in different investment programs. Why? Why should we, in the Ministry of Trade or in the Ministry of Treasury, Why should we gazette a special economic zone for our partners from Asia or from Europe, and we cannot gazette a special economic zone for our diaspora? To take up some serious manufacturing or to take up some serious innovative program and then use that as a launch pad for export. All these things can be done. It's only a question of us really pulling together. So I thought that I should veer away from my written remarks and talk to you from the heart. On some of these issues. It could be politics. We are now seeing situations where the Kenyan diaspora are staging demonstrations against their own country in certain places. Rightly or wrongly so, but it's their right. But we are seeing this. I don't think that is where we want to go. I think we want to start working on a more organized approach to some of these things. A few days ago, not on another trip, I was in Geneva. And I went to meet with the UN High Commission for Human Rights. And believe you me, even though sometimes we have bloody noses from our own local issues, where we punch each other and we don't look so good, but comparatively, the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights still said that in spite of your bloody nose because of your local issues, you, Kenya, can still host a multi-country center for human rights in the region. Why do I bring this out? I bring this out because in Kenya, you are the media hub. In the entire region, there's nobody, no other sister state that has got the kind of media hub that you have, where people can speak freely. Take it seriously. Don't just throw it away. It's the reality. You in Kenya, as we speak to these things, in spite of the bloody noses we have locally because of punching each other, tell me another government in the region that faces the kind of litigation that the Kenya government faces in our judicial environment, and the same government loses several cases. Let us be realistic. It's a reality check. Because we keep on communicating, saying that we are the worst. You are not the worst. Even when some of our friends want to demonstrate, they don't demonstrate in their capitals, they come and demonstrate in Nairobi. for abrogations that they feel have happened in their home ground. But they demonstrate in Nairobi. Ask yourself the very fundamental question, why? Kwa nini? Mbona hawakwenda kucheza hiyo dansi kwao? Wamekuja kuicheza hapa Nairobi. So there are some issues which are good. And for this, we must say hats off to the Kenyans who participated in ensuring that we all got the 2010 Constitution, which has safeguarded our liberties. Some of you are in this hall. You participated. Let us defend that Constitution. And as we defend the Constitution, let us do it positively. Let us not cut our noses to spite our face. Let us work together, and there's so much potential. And ladies and gentlemen of the diaspora, I am here to tell you, you have a partner. You have a partner in this journey. We at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs are going to work with you, so that the very clear and noble objectives of our Kenyans in different parts of the country will be recognized. When I went to Australia, I went to Brisbane. And I met some of the good Kenyans there. And as we were walking into the lift, into the Prince Charles Hospital in Brisbane, the lift door has a huge mural. Then, for a moment, a life-size mural. The person who was ushering me in is the one who was on the lift. His mural was on the lift. His image was on the lift. This is a Kenyan of high intellect working in that hospital, a researcher who had come from Kilifi, a malaria program and all this, Kemri. And now he's in Australia and they're at the verge working with his counterparts in Australia. And I really wish it happens. They are on the verge of making a major breakthrough in the medical field, which, if it goes through, could easily put them on the list of those who could vie or who could be in competition for a Nobel Peace Prize in that area. We cross off. I went to West Virginia in the US. And there are Kenyan doctors working in a consortium with a few of the partners from Zimbabwe, where my sister stands out for. And they have actually taken over a pharmaceutical plant. And they're now beginning to manufacture medicine, and more so medicine that will help us deal with sickle cell anemia. And you know very well, in malaria-prone areas, sickle cell anemia becomes quite prevalent. But the cost can be prohibitive. And for the younger children, it can become very difficult if it is always in capsules. So they are also finding a way of converting this into medicine that can be palatable for even the infant. And I was telling them, once you are through with this process, it would be important that you become one of the key suppliers on the Kenyan scene, so that KEMSA and others can buy medicine from you and be able to deal with sickle cell challenges in the region. These are people in the diaspora. And you can name many others. You all have examples of your own. So let us now elevate our conversations to the next level. One level is the legal framework, but the other level, which I think is even perhaps more important, let this earthquake remind us that we can no longer waste time looking for the smaller things in our villages. Let us seriously elevate this conversation to the higher pedestal so that we can find solutions, both for the nation, but also for the well-being of each individual citizen. Because a prosperous individual citizen contributes to a prosperous nation. So we now must galvanize our efforts in that direction. So I think I've said enough. And I can assure you, if I had read the speech, I would not have felt so relieved. I certainly feel very relieved. And the gentleman you saw here, called Moreu, he didn't tell you, there wasn't full disclosure, but I'll disclose a little more. We grew together in Kangemi. That is where we stayed with him. We were neighbors in Kangemi, and we played soccer together as young people. He went to Sterehe. Then I went to Nairobi school. I ended up playing rugby, and I found myself in politics. I think he was wiser. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. And may I say that we are now ready to launch the diaspora policy formally, and then we can all mingle and say jambo to each other. Asante sana. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for that pot of wisdom. I will not attempt to summarize what you have told us, but you have given us a message. You've thrown a challenge at us, whether it's economic, social, political, diaspora. We are all going to be the messengers to carry the message. It was a message from the heart, as His Excellency has said. So whether you're a Kenyan, whether you're a global citizen, those were deep words. And thank you so much, Your Excellency, for that. I now want to invite you together. Yes. Sharon? Steve?